Hello everybody, welcome to Wine World TV, the best wine show anywhere. I'm your host, Mark Fusco. Before we get started, make sure you're smashing that like button and subscribing to the channel. Every like and subscription helps build the channel. Even better, spread the word to your friends about the best wine show anywhere. It's time once again for my Christmas Day special. This year I'm doing Italian. Why? Because I'm Italian and that's the food we have for Christmas. Well, for this year I'm kind of using off the beaten path grape varieties, well at least for two of them. And let's start off real quick. You can probably tell that I may have already opened these bottles of wine. So last night, so tonight is, well, still December 21st. I recorded this 23-ish hours ago. I found out that everything was out of focus. So I don't normally have the iPad sitting over here for controller. I tend to use the laptop, but I was having a lot of issues with this particular episode, technical issues. Prompter wasn't working very well. Things were all jacked up. And I guess at some point in time, the app that I use on the phone lost focus. And this has happened one other time in the last year. And I don't know why it happens, but since I can see this, I can tell if it goes out of focus and I can fix it on the fly. Whereas on the computer screen, it was covered up. All right, so now that I've explained why, I've already tasted the wines and they were all wonderful. We're gonna taste them again because I caught it this time before I needed to, before I had finished drinking them. All right, because last time I had drank the wine, it was like a month later when I edited everything and I had already drank the wine, so I couldn't really redo it. All right, so first we're gonna lead off with Franciacorta. The Italian champagne, kinda. Someone did actually say champagne earlier today. I was like, okay. There are three appellations in Italy that require champagne method or metodo classico for sparkling wine. So they are Altalonga DOCG, Trento DOCG, also known as Trento DOC, and then Franciacorta DOCG. While Altalonga was the last to receive a designation as DOC in 2002 and then as DOCG in 2011, the region has been making Metodo Classico wine since the mid-1800s, with Fratelli Gancia being the first. Trento was the next to do this in 1902 with Giulio Ferrari, adopting that method for his sparkling wines. Then in 1961, Guido Berlucci started his version. In all three, traditional champagne grapes of Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, or Nero in Italian, must be used and be at least 50% of the final wine. Altalonga's requirement is a minimum of a 90% combined, with the remaining 10% being, quote, other non-aromatic varieties suitable for cultivation in Piemonte. I don't have a list of these, but this is common in Italy and actually other countries. So basically, if you grow it in the area and you can make a wine out of it legally, you can use it in the Altalonga thing. I mean, you're probably not using Merlot in a sparkling wine, but it has to be non-aromatic, by the way, too. All right, so Trento DOC adds Meunier to the list of allowed grapes, but only Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and Meunier are allowed. Any percentage of the three is allowed. Franciacorta allows Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, Pinot Bianco or Pinot Blanc, and Herba Mate. Depending on the style of Franciacorta, here are the requirements taken directly from Guildsom. Just so you know, it does require a subscription to access it, all right? So first of all, for just Franciacorta, Pinot Nero and or Chardonnay, maximum 50% Pinot Bianco, and a maximum of 10% Herba Mate. All right, so for Franciacorta Satin is Chardonnay and a maximum of 50% Pinot Bianco. For Franciacorta Rosé, minimum 35% Pinot Nero and maximum 65% Chardonnay and a maximum of 50% Pinot Bianco and a maximum of 10% Herba Mate. Did you catch all those things? Don't worry about it. They're just basically telling you which grapes you can use, and you can only use so much of each grape. All right, Pinot Bianco is part of the list of 7 authorized grapes for Champagne. For context, they are Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, Meunier, Pinot Blanc or Pinot Bianco, Pinot Gris, Petit Meslier, and Arbonne. Plus, there's actually 2 new ones. We have an 8th and 9th grape, but the first one I'm going to talk about is Vultus, but only for, quote, adaptation purposes and can only be used up to 5% of the final blend. There's also another grape variety called Chardonnay Rosé. It's apparently a distinct variety from Chardonnay, and they've also approved that for use in Champagne. All right, so this Herbamont grape I keep talking about, well, what is it? It's a native variety to the Garda area. So Lake Garda, this is where Franciacorta is, in Lombardy. It was a recent addition due to climate change. I've got links to all this for you to dive deeper. Let's get some history of Berlucchi. According to their website, sparkling wine was being made as far back as the 8th century AD, being produced by Benedictine monks in the convent of Santa Giulia da Brescia. A quick search didn't really give me any additional information concerning this, however. My take is that sparkling wine was certainly a byproduct of winemaking in many, many places, but as far as I know, it wasn't intentionally made until the 1500s in Limoux, France. Also, monks were doing that. Even after that, pretty much anywhere else viewed it as a curiosity at best and a fault that needed fixing at worst. Confer Dom Perignon. Anyway, however, in 1957, Guido Berlucci released a white wine called Pinot di Franciacorta, the first use of the name Franciacorta. However, this was a still wine, it was not sparkling. Enter Franco Ziliani, his winemaker. He basically lobbied Guido to let him produce a champagne method wine. So in 1961, they released 3,000 bottles of Pinot di Franciacorta, but as a sparkling wine that used the traditional method. By 1967, 11 other producers of the style were around, and that's when the region and style of wine was given a DOC status. And this was the first DOC to mandate using traditional method for its sparkling wines. So, while other areas may have been doing this intentionally before Berlucci put theirs out in 1961, Franciacorta is the first official DOC for traditional method or Metodo Classico wine. It was then elevated to DOCG status in 1995. Also, a bit of an interesting trivia note, Franciacorta is the only DOCG that is not obligated to declare its DOCG in Italy. Champagne is also permitted to omit AOC or AOP from its labels. I didn't know that about either appellation. So basically, if you're a Franciacorta or you're Champagne, the letters DOCG for Franciacorta and AOP or AOC, they're interchangeable. For Champagne, does not have to show up on the label or what those letters stand for. All right, in this case, they do have it. All right, and for the most part, especially like I would say Franciacorta, maybe more than Champagne, they want you to see the DOCG because there's this prestige having a DOCG, even though there's like a 5 billion DOCGs in Italy. Okay, I exaggerated on that. All right, so back to Berlucci. There really isn't much else about history, no indication to how long they've been making wine overall. Essentially, we have a count named Guido Berlucci who had a winemaker that wanted to use the traditional method to, quote, improve his unstable white wine. This is all to explain why the label has a 61 on it, right there, to commemorate and kind of brag that they were the winery that started it all. Okay, on to our next wine, STURM. Basically, I got nothing. The family moved to the town of Zegla in Collio in 1850. Then at some point they got into commercial winemaking. The website says there are 3 generations. There are 3 people profiled, Oscar, Patrick, and Dennis, or Denis. I don't know. Visually, it looks like Oscar is the father of Patrick and Dennis. If either Patrick or Dennis is the father of the other, then they got some kind of fountain of youth thing going on. I mean, it's possible. If I had to pick the older of those 2, then I'd guess that Dennis is older than Patrick, but I wouldn't say he's 20 to 30 years older than Patrick. Though Patrick in one of the photos does look to be in his early 20s. All right, anyway, so it's either 2 or 3 generations, I don't know. Oscar is listed as the, quote, vine whisperer. So he's the vineyard manager. Patrick is the winemaker, and Dennis is the, quote, numbers guy. So I'm guessing he's like the general manager. They have 2 lines of wines, organic and classic. This wine is from the classic line. The website does hype up Collio and calls Zegla a, quote, cru. Not sure where they get that from. There are no official crus in Collio. The town of Zegla isn't even mentioned in the official DOC document. Nor are any crus mentioned anywhere, all right? In the section that describes the boundaries of the DOC, yes, there are towns mentioned, but there are no towns specifically called out as having higher quality wines, therefore no crus. Maybe within Collio, Zegla is considered a higher quality area, but I got no indication this is the case. Collio is considered one of the top parts of the larger area of Friuli. Let's talk Ribolla Gialla, or sometimes just called Ribolla. It's a native grape of the larger region of northeast Italy and across the border in West Slovenia. Most of it is actually grown in Slovenia. While there was some debate as that it was of Greek origin, it was established in the early 2000s to originate from the Friuli Collia or Gorizia Hills region. There are records dating back to the 1200s, so it's a pretty old grape. Everything's still in focus? Everything's still in focus. All right. When phylloxera hit in the late 1800s, a lot of it was replaced with French varieties. It was almost extinct by the 1990s, with less than 1% of all white wines from Friuli being made from it. It's only in the past 20 years or so that there has been a renewed interest in the grape. It's also a popular grape to be used for orange wine. Now, per the profile on the Italian Wine Central website, this variety should have a white pepper, lemon, and tangerine. The Wikipedia entry mentioned it's a floral variety. Both mention it's high acid. I got links to all this below, but the Italian Wine Central is a fantastic resource about Italian wine. Okay, onward through the fog bean, onward to the third wine, Nals Magreid. Only slightly more information than the second wine. We have at least some historical information. Where the winery is now, there was some kind of estate built in 1764 called Campi. No other information about that. Jump to 1932 when the Nals winery was founded with 34 members led by Alois Bussetti. In 1954, the Magreid Enteklar winery was founded. In 1985, the 2 wineries were merged, creating Nals Magreid. And I'm assuming it's Magreid, since M-A-G-R-E-I-D, not Magreid or Magreid. Again, anyway, really no extra information here on anything. Where are the original wineries located? I don't know. Who founded the second winery? Why did they merge? It just feels like there's so much opportunity to tell a compelling story here. All right, there are 3 people profiled as well on the website. These are the executives, co-CEOs, and the president. One of them is listed as the winemaker. I'll let you hit up the site to read their single paragraph blurbs, but it wasn't anything particularly interesting to me, mostly just corporate speak. Basically, it feels like not that these guys don't do anything at the winery, but they seem to be just like vanity profiles. There's nothing of substance in their blurbs. All right, I will say that it does appear that this is a co-op. They mentioned early on it was a number of members, and now they have a total of 138 members spread out over 14 regions. Total vineyard acreage is 160 hectares, and they are spread out across the entire Alto Adige from Nals in the north to Bassa Atesina in the south. The grapes for this wine come from the vineyards near the town of Bolzano, specifically from vineyards from an area called Santa Maddalena. This is an official subzone from the communes of Corneto, Bolzano, and Renon. It's located along the northern part of the main town of Bolzano, where there's also a church, which I believe has the same name. Okay, so what is the grape? Well, on the front label, it is the word Vernatsch. It also goes by the name Trollinger, and the one that I'm most familiar with, Schiava. I don't have a lot of experience with Schiava, nor Ribolla for that matter, hence why I chose these wines. But Schiava comes across as a good alternative to Pinot Noir. The Santa Maddalena region is apparently considered one of the best regions for Schiava. It is native to this part of Italy. It did migrate to Germany and is mostly grown in the Baden-Württemberg region. Now, this region has the most plantings of the variety overall, this one in Germany, and it's known as Trollinger there. It's known as Vernatsch here in the Alto Adige region, and it's better known as Schiava in the rest of Italy. All right, it basically produces a light to medium bodied wine with low to moderate tannins, mostly red fruit and some florals. So yes, similar to Pinot Noir, or at least we're about to find out. It does. It's very much like Pinot Noir. All right, with that said, let's get the stats for the wines. First up, the non-vintage Guido Berlucci 61 Franciacorta Rosé. I paid $39.95 for it. It's normally $59.95. From Italy, from Franciacorta DOCG. 70% Pinot Noir, 30% Chardonnay. Harvest is mid-August to early September. The yield is 9,000 kilograms per hectare with a 55% yield that comes out to 6,600 bottles per hectare. I know lots of numbers here. All right, Metodo Classico, or traditional method. Aging, 24 months on the lees. It's brut. The disgorgement date, 2019. The residual sugar is 6.5 grams per liter. The total acidity is 7.5 grams per liter. The pH is 3.1, and the ABV is 12.5. All right, next we have the 2021 STURM Ribolla Gialla. I paid $19.95 for it, and it's normally $29.95. It is from Italy, from Collio DOC, 100% Ribolla Gialla. The vineyard location is Cormanzer Gorizia. The vine training is Gio. Average vine age is 30 years. They do manual harvest, and the ABV is 12.5%. Lastly, we have the 2022 Nals Magreid Galea Vernatsch. It's $26.95. I didn't get it on special or anything. It is from Italy. It's from the Alto Adige Südtirol, Südtirol, not Südtirol, Südtirol, DOC. It's 100% Vernatsch Schiava. Altitude is 250 to 350 meters, or 820 to 1150 feet. Exposure is south by southwest. Vine age is 50 to 80 years old. The soil is a gravelly, well-ventilated porphyry soil. More on that in a second. Manual harvesting, they destemmed it. It's aged for 7 months in 40 hectoliter barrels, and the ABV is 13%. So I'm kind of bummed there were no vintage-specific tech sheets available. With that said, the Berlucci having some extra stats like the TA, pH, and RS tells me that that's their goal probably every year. Since it's not a vintage wine, there won't be a vintage-specific info. I mean, so there was like a generic tech sheet for them. Also, as far as the Franciacorta, what really caught my eye was the disgorgement date of 2019. Yeah, it's just a year, fine, whatever. Usually there will also be a month associated with it, but what's important is that this is when oxidative aging began. So the other wine is either, so the wine itself is either from 2016 or 2017, 8 or 9 years old in total. All the others on the shelf were disgorged in 2022, and the label's different too. All right, for the last wine, this one here, the porphyry soil is granite or igneous rocks like feldspar and quartz, essentially a type of volcanic soil. I've got some links below for further info, especially if you're a soil nerd. When it comes to wine, a higher pH soil, which is what this soil is supposed to be, will tend to produce a lower pH wine. It's an inverse relationship. And we do want lower pH wines. We don't want high pH wines. All right, let's get into the wines. All right, we are still in, whatchamacallit, in focus. Ooh, this smells really good. So less than 24 hours, I popped these open, or popped this open, and good bubbles there. These types of closures are fantastic. Assuming I don't have like a lot of wine gone out of it, it'll hold for a week at least, as long as you keep it in the fridge. So super excited about that. And let's do some movie magic and go get the Corvin. I never put it away. All right. Dun, dun, dun. Sturm. I'm assuming you do that sta in there. Considering we are in that more Austrian part, German-Austrian part of Italy. So kind of like Alsace in France, you have this kind of mixture of German and French cultures. You have the same thing in this northern part of Italy, where you have a mixture of German/Austrian culture and Italian. And then where these guys are, considering Slovenia is literally across the border from the winery, it's like, I don't know, like I'm less than a mile away. I showed you the Google Earth thing, and it looked like it was really close. An easy stroll, if you will. You'll definitely find a lot of mixture of Slovenian culture and Italian culture. In this part of Italy, it's not uncommon for wineries on either side of the border to have vineyards on the other side. So, okay. All right, so this color was really, really like coppery, and I was kind of, yesterday or earlier, early this morning, I was a little, yeah, everything's good. I was a little concerned because it's so coppery and looks really oxidized. And yes, it is oxidized, not terribly oxidized. But I am curious as to how different the 2022 disgorgement was. So that's 3 years, where this is 6 years. So anyway, so with non-vintage sparkling wines, as a general rule, they're not really intended to be aged. Doesn't mean you can't age them. I know someone that ages Pierre Peter's non-vintage. He lets them sit for like 5 more years after he buys them because he says they get better, which they change, absolutely. You get those tertiary and secondary flavors and aromas due to oxidation. All right, so let's see if it's different at all from less than 24 hours ago. No, it's pretty much the same as I remember. So a lot of bruised fruit going on here. Bruised red apple, a little pear. I don't remember the pear yesterday. There's a little bit of almond going on here. Some apricot. You've got some florals, but they are very oxidized, like kind of decaying. I mean, so when we use some of these descriptions with wine, especially things like decaying and dying and, you know, things like that, they sound bad, but that's what wine does. So I'm not saying anything bad about the wine. Matter of fact, these are, to me, very positive things because the wine is going through its normal evolution. But there's like sweetness to it because things have been bruised, going through the Maillard reaction, or oxidizing. So you got some that kind of sweetness thing, including the florals. With that said, you also, like I mentioned, Maillard. So that's the caramelization, and when you bake stuff, or like sugar when you brown the sugar, it gets caramelized. I'm getting a little bit of that type of thing as far as a bakery, as far as a pastry thing, but it's not overwhelming. And I mean, maybe it's just because this is an orangish looking wine. I feel like I get a little bit of orange and nectarine. All right, let's taste it. Remember this? That was old school. I angle it here because I haven't taken my pressable sticker off because I no longer use them as my web hosting. Nothing wrong with them. I found a place that was cheaper. Yeah, it's still delicious. So I remember yesterday talking about how these are the wines I plan to use for our Christmas dinner when we get our stuff from Paisanos. Both of these all three will go great, but I don't think the other people who are going to be here, I don't know if they're going to like this. I like it, but it's really on its like downward trend. Like, I think for a lot of people, they might say it's not good. Not that it's spoiled, but they might be like, oh, I'm not really a fan of it. I like it, but I probably, if I wanted to really give it a fair shot, I probably should have gotten the newer disgorged ones. But with that said, I do like it. I like that caramelization. I like that oxidation. I like that bruised fruit. The bubbles are good. Because it is a 6-year-old wine as far as the disgorgement part, it's not going to be as have as much carbonation as it would if it was 3 years younger, or I got it right, shortly after disgorgement. But I like it. I like it a lot. All right. Let's do the Ribolla Gialla. Now I remember, the color's still the same as yesterday. It's like this electric fluorescent yellow. It reminds me of Strega or Galliano. Okay, yeah. Let's give it a little sniffy sniff, as the Gary V would say. Remember Gary V? You remember Gary V did wine, right? You know, he's not just some internet guru about business and stuff. Gary, come on, man. Let's collab. All right. So I remember being a little more aromatic yesterday. I do get a little bit of white floral. They talked about pepper. I don't remember having white pepper yesterday, and I don't think I get it today. But it's really just kind of very light, not very aromatic. Yesterday I remember getting like green apple, a little bit of pear. I think I mentioned nectarine with this, which was really weird, and white flowers. I get a bit of a non-fruit component, non-floral component. We kind of call that minerality, almost like a wet rock. But it's all very like fleeting in nature. Let's just get it on the palate, because that's probably where everything's going to be at right now. Power suggestion is so powerful. Because I went through the script again, and I remember that white pepper thing, I was like, yeah, sure, I get a little bit. If you didn't say it, I probably wouldn't get it. But there is a spice component, if you will. There's a savoriness to it. Definitely like a green apple and kind of a citrus thing. Not quite lemon lime per se, but there's a citrus or citric component to it. It's very green apple. It's very green apple, and it's like on that slightly underripe side. It's almost like that Jolly Rancher thing, but it's not sweet, right? It's almost like that. I really get the floral on the retronasal when I breathe out through my nose. It's delicious. It's very crisp. It's very refreshing. For whatever reason, my my computer decided to shut down. Anyway, it's very refreshing. It's very floral. It's very bright. So yeah, I'm very, very pleased with this. This is going to go great with Veal Cristina when I eat that grilled Veal Cristina in a couple days. But it should go great with, a lot of times everybody else gets seafood. This should go great with the seafood. Matter of fact, I probably will suggest them to drink this, and I'll probably drink this in my Veal Cristina. Not that I really have that much left. I'll have other wines. I'll have some supplementary wines as well. There's a bit of grittiness, a little chalkiness, that type of thing going on as far as like texture. So think of that green apple thing, but like it's powder and like a fun dip type of thing. I think I mentioned this yesterday, but like almost like a fun dip thing because of that texture. So it's super delicious. All right, let's hit this one here. So first of all, color-wise, I know you can't see it, but it's translucent like Pinot Noir. So Schiava, as far as I know, is a thinner skinned grape. Pinot Noir is, Gamay is, Blanc Frankish is. Like a bunch of these grapes are kind of like that. Can be Nebbiolo is actually a thin skinned grape, even though it's high in tannin. The darkness of the wine doesn't necessarily indicate how much tannin is going to be in there. So yeah, this is fairly translucent. It looks a lot like Pinot, but there's this almost brownish red quality going on, and I don't think it's necessarily an oxidation thing, and I don't remember it really being oxidized yesterday. But as wines age, they turn more orange and then brown. So there's like a red-orange color to this. Sometimes we use the word brick. The court really hates when we use the word brick because, well, brick comes in a bunch of different colors. Like I live in a brick house and there's not a reddish brick. It's a different color brick. So you can't just say brick. Anyway, so lots of dried red fruit. I got cranberry. I have a little cherry, a little raspberry, pomegranate. Basically, it's very much like yesterday. This is all the things I described yesterday. There is, I didn't get the tar yesterday, but I get a little tar. Yeah. Almost like rubber. Almost like a smokiness, okay? And that's probably coming from the barrel, though smokiness could be the grape variety, but it's probably from the barrel. These are larger barrels. These are 40 hectoliter barrels. So that's big, like 4,000 liters versus 220-ish, depending on the barrique that you're using, 228, 225 liters. This is like big. So it shouldn't be oxidizing that much in the amount of time it's in the barrel. It's just a vessel instead of stainless steel. There's some spice components though. Again, sometimes grape varieties have spice on their own, and sometimes you get the spice from the barrel. I think this is more about the grape variety. There is a bit of cinnamon to it. There's also a bit of like herbaceousness, like oregano, basil, potpourri for days, dried, not like this was like more like dead, like dying flour, oxidized flour. This is like, it's dried out potpourri, mostly from red flowers. So I guess rose petals and other red floral things, maybe some violets and stuff like that. Yeah, it smells great. Let's taste it, see if it tastes as good as it did yesterday. So yeah, definitely a Pinot alternative. A lot of it is because of the mouthfeel. It's a medium-bodied wine, almost kind of medium minus. The tannin is very low on this. It's not ripping high tannin, so like Pinot Noir, like Gamay, Blaufränkisch, things like that. Saint Laurent. Well, I think Saint Laurent has a little bit more tannin. I mean, there's a little grip now coming, but nowhere like Nebbiolo, where Nebbiolo sneaks up on me and go, oh, it might be a Pinot Noir, and all of a sudden, like a minute or two later, my face gets, smacked with tannin. The dried red fruits, pomegranate, not quite that much cherry on the palate. I remember yesterday the cherry was a little more prominent on the nose, not so much on here, but cranberry, raspberry, a lot of raspberry and pomegranate for me. A touch of smokiness, if you will, earthiness. Yeah, more earthiness, more forest floor, more dried leaves. Potpourri exactly is still there. A touch of herbaceousness is coming through on the palate. That oregano, basil type of thing. But there's a juiciness to it. Like, even though it's dry, very dry. These are all dry, by the way. But it's like dry. Like, this might be under 1 gram per liter of residual sugar. And I'm not really great at nailing RS. I can do alcohol pretty well. RS, I'm not so great at, because it could be anything. Anyway, but there is a juiciness to it. Not quite a sweetness to it, but a juiciness to it. Like a sweet tart, like a ripe / underripe, like Zinfandel can do. You can get some pretty ripe fruit, and then you get some kind of very tart fruit because of how it matures on the vine. So there's a word for that, and I can't remember what it's called, but how it matures on the vine, how it ripens on the vine, I don't necessarily think this variety has that uneven ripening, but like Zinfandel does, but there is a little bit of that. And while this could work with the seafood, I think I'm going to have a secondary white wine for a seafood, and this will definitely work with my Ville Cristina. It is fantastic wine. All three of these, I think, are really well made. Again, this one is something that maybe a lot of people wouldn't gravitate towards because of the oxidative process. But this is like, having like a 10-year-old, 15-year-old like Bordeaux that's not fresh and fruity anymore. It's got that goodness of earthiness and kind of oxidized type of thing, and dried out fruit and things like that. That's what makes that wine, those wines really nice. So this has that. So if you're not used to having older sparkling wines, then this may not be for you. So with that said, there's only a 3-year difference between what's out on the market right now and this. So there should be a difference. This is awesome. This is probably the best of the three. I didn't rank them yesterday, but this is probably the best of the three for me. Then this. But this also is in a different class for me. It's like a separate thing, and I can't necessarily rank it with those two. And tomorrow, I might like this one better than that one. Who knows, dude? Anyway, that's going to do it for today's show. If you enjoy what I'm doing here, then make sure you click like and subscribe and tell all your friends. And we'll see you next time, maybe with, how about some some Franciacorta.